Vice President's removal from power. And we remember very well, Jaramogi Odinga was phased out. But what we can learn from those previous removals was that it was the Constitution was not as protective as today. Because those days, you could be appointed on a roadside and you could be sacked on a roadside. Those were prerogatives of the president. Today, we have a different jurisdiction where we don't have vice president, but we have deputies, who are well protected by the law and the Constitution. And the removal of such a position constitutionally has to follow the constitutional process, which is now this impeachment process, and there are the laid down procedures which can make such an office vacant. The powers has been left to a political route, which is emanation of the motion from the National Assembly, and the final hammer has to be done by the Senate. And this is how our Constitution illustrates. Let me say the Senate did their part, but only what I would like to say at this moment is that the whole process, I can say that it is what we can say it was a political sword, that whether you are guilty or not, the sword was very clear that it was to carry the day. And this is how, this is why there could not be any room to allow such, because it is very clear that you must allow the accused fair hearing. And when it is fair hearing, it means if the accused affronted himself in person and has stated very clear that he wants to present himself to defend himself, it was not in any crime for an extension of even 1 day, because the days that actually were given by the standing orders is 17 days, and 7 days are purely for the Speaker of the Senate to commence the process. That is already gone because the process has commenced, and the process has to take 10 days, whether it is the 11-member committee or whether it is the plenary. And at this point in time, by yesterday, it was not the last day. We could say that there was no room to extend. Therefore, there was a room of a remainder of number of days before the window is closed. So if there was a goodwill, then there was every good reason for the Senate to decide to give the former deputy president a room to a fair hearing. And I would say, to the wisdom of the Senate, they decided that the timeline was so tight, and therefore they had no room to wait even a single minute for the conclusion of the process. At that point, we would say, yes, it is the die is cast, and there is no point of saying that we can fall back to the Senate. The Senate has pronounced itself. It has already casted votes, and they have gazetted the removal of the incumbents then of that particular office. At this point in time, I would like to say the borough, because there is no way you can stop a process which has an interest, and those interests are that, in fact, today, if you are aware, the outcome was already known. And that's why the special session of Parliament was already triggered that today there would be such a special sitting. That tells you already the outcome was already premeditated, and it was known before even casting of the vote. And it tells you the process was just to finalize that technicality, but it could not stop. Today, The expectation is that the name will be seconded to the Speaker of the National Assembly, and this morning's session, the debate will be at the chamber, and probably by 2:30 there will be a vote to approve the new appointed. But my only question is how the law will now play from this point, considering that the Constitution is not has not given an option, because it has given a mandate of gazetting the president and his deputy under the powers of the chairman of the commission, electoral commission.
That is the IEBC.
That's IBC. And in the absence of the chairman of the IBC, in fact, it is not, there's no option which is given that somebody else can act in such powers of gazetting. And therefore, as much as the process will emanate today, hoping that it will commence, and the approval of the name will be through by the end of the day, and probably the swearing in may be prepared tomorrow. It is not necessary for the Chief Justice to swear in the new Deputy President, but the registrar. The registrar has such powers to swear in. This tells you if there will be no order to restrain that process by the end of today, it tells you that nothing will stop the registrar tomorrow to swear in the new incoming deputy. Then what will arise thereafter will be what we call legal processes to check whether the process was in order. Despite that, after swearing in of such of filling that vacuum, it tells you that even when later maybe judiciary might arrive to find some anomalies in the process of impeaching the deputy president, then the decision will be overtaken by event, because already if somebody else already swear in, then the former deputy president may not lose most likely the benefits after the maybe quashing of such orders of the Senate by the judiciary. Probably what can, at this point in time, what can protect the former deputy president is only if maybe the judiciary today may pronounce.
So you're still clanging on
No, you know that this process is like any other process.
Well,
we have presidents of previous impeachments of governors. We have an example of the former governor of Embu, who was given a stay by the judiciary, and currently we have a governor of Melo who is in the power today by the pronunciation of the judiciary.
Well,
and therefore we hope that
we'll actually be getting to the options that Gachagua has.
Okay.
Samuel Pogisha, you've served as a majority leader at the Senate, and on the conduct of the Senate yesterday, do you feel this was a rushed process? Of course, they said the 10-day timeline was ending on Saturday. Then, will it then, maybe it will have been fair for them to extend it to today? Or, as Honorable Gakuya says, perhaps it will have, or it was already premeditated. And that's why the special sitting of the National Assembly was already slated for today.
Well, Joel, this was a political process, and the determination was political. The end game was known. And once the end game was known, you just walk backwards, isn't it? And but I would not say that the Senate rushed it. By the way, the Senate pronounced the program to the parties early enough, gave them the time. Everybody was given so many hours, and the end in the afternoon. It was supposed to be that in the evening. I think it was supposed to be that the Senate would then go into a closed session and make a decision. That decision would be based on whether all the information was there or not. The timing was done. In fact, if you realize, there was a time when even the the Council for National Assembly decided to close their case without necessarily calling all their witnesses because their time had lapsed. And so it was now the time for, when it was time for the Council for the Deputy President, the impeached Deputy President, when it was time for him, then it was announced that he wasn't here, he wasn't coming. And then soon we discovered that he was sick and had been taken ill. So I do not want to say that the Senate actually rushed it. They had an opportunity to discuss, but you see, it takes a process to register a special sitting. You don't just declare there and then that the special sitting is for tomorrow. No, that's very difficult. There's a process, there's a time when you have to give people, and so this process was already time-bound. And I could see the struggle with the Speaker of the Senate trying to be magnanimous, but his hands were tied within the process. So the other thing I wanted to say was that it is the duty then of the majority leader in that case and his team to make sure that the votes went according to the position they had already agreed. So, I mean, that's why I kept saying that even the struggle to have a political, a legal argument was good. And people were really entertained. I mean, they were given the best of the legal arguments in this country. But it is not a judicial thing. It was like it's called quasi-judicial, but it is not judicial in the sense that the judge does not pronounce himself. In this case, they go again into a closed session and agree. What is it and everybody has their own opinion. Usually, the majority in the House has a majority on the one side, a combination of UDA senators plus ODM senators. That's a very big majority, just like it happened in the House, in the National Assembly. So you have a situation where the mathematics was already settled a long time ago, and so the die was cast, and so whether they impeached, I do not want to call him the former DP, but the impeached the DP, whether the impeached DP was there or not.
This still I would have
if the lawyers with all those arguments did not convince these guys, I mean, who are you? What were you going to add?
And now we are joined by Honorable Geoffrey Ruku. He's the Mbeere North Member of Parliament. He comes from the Mount Kenya East. And you supported the impeachment motion at the National Assembly. You are among the 282 members who listened to the ground. And interestingly, Honorable Ruku, despite being a member of the National Assembly, he was present last evening at the Senate. I'm not sure how and why. And this is what Honorable Ruku and another member from the Mount Kenya East had to say as far as the impeachment of the Deputy President Rigathi Gachagua is concerned.
And we have witnessed the Parliament of Kenya, that is the Senate as well as the National Assembly, doing its mandate as far as Article 145 and Article 150 of our Constitution is concerned. We call upon the President of the Republic of Kenya to move with speed and nominate his principal assistant, that's the Deputy President of the Republic of Kenya, as soon as possible. And we are here proposing the name of Professor Kindiki Kithure to be the next Deputy President of the Republic of Kenya.
Yangu ni kidogo sana ni kusema ya kwamba kazi imefanyika vizuri, ya kwamba Kenyans wamejua kwamba wakati ndio tulikuwa na demokrasia. Yangu ni kusema kwamba ile kura ambayo imepigwa pale Senate ni ya maana sana na ni kura ambayo haina kabila. Hii ni kura ambayo imepigwa kumuondoa Gachagua ndio William Samoei Ruto aweze kuendelea na kazi yake. Lakini nikisema kwamba sisi tukiwa Mount Kenya East eti ya kwamba hata sisi tunahitaji kiti ya deputy governor kwa sababu wakikwetu wamewapatia miaka 15 ya Jomo Kenyatta, miaka 10 ya Kibaki, miaka 10 ya Uhuru Muigai Kenyatta na miaka 2 ya Rigathi Gachagua. So hii nayo ikija upande wa Mount Kenya East kwa Kithure Kindiki tunasema kwamba inawezekana.
Honorable Geoffrey Ruku, how come you are at the Senate last evening and you are a member of Parliament and you seem or you are keen to be voting for Kithure Kindiki to take over? Were you sent maybe to hand over something to the senators? There are also allegations of corruption at the National Assembly.
You know, Kenyans, and I know my brother Honorable Gachagua He was in one of the media houses where he said members of parliament were bribed.
He was actually here on this show.
Members of National
But
Assembly.
got at least 500,000.
Yeah, members of National Assembly. He's saying that were bribed to take the decisions which they took to impeach the deputy president, Rigathi Gachagua. Those are allegations which are totally unfounded, and to that extent, allegations which are malicious. I know even Honorable Koimburi made similar remarks during the finance bill. And it's very unfortunate for honorable members to be making unfounded allegations to their colleagues. But having said that, it is we are at the moment where the Constitution of Kenya is supreme. A moment where Kenya is indeed a constitutional democracy. And we are at the moment where all the constitutional offices which you hold in trust to the Kenyan people, we who hold those offices must operate within the realm of our constitution. All the articles of our constitution are not mere paper, just things which cannot be followed. Every constitutional office holder must be keen to fulfill his or her mandate as per the Constitution of the Republic of Kenya. We have said again and again to the Deputy President, I don't know how to use the name, whether it is the former Deputy President or the recently impeached Deputy President, that he was treading on a wrong direction. We have told him again and again that this is not the way to champion the interest of a nation, the interest of 50 million Kenyans.
Unheard,
yes,
is what played out yesterday.
What?
He did not condemning someone unheard. He was not given an opportunity to defend himself. You still consider these a fair process to Rigathi Gachagua? He's hospitalized, by the way. I hope you'll create time to also visit him at the hospital.
We sent our sympathies and quick recovery messages to Honorable Rigathi Gachagua to recover as quickly as possible. It is not good for anybody to be sick, to be in hospital bed. But at the same time, the process which was going on is time-bound process. He was given all the necessary opportunity to defend himself at the National Assembly as well as at the Senate. The legal counsel, because the Constitution of Kenya as well as the standing orders of the Senate requires either for him to be there physically or the legal counsel to be there. So the team was there. Whether they walked out or not, the thing is they were in the chamber. They made their own decisions regarding the situation the way it was. So I don't think the ruling which was made by the Speaker of the Senate was biased or was unprocedural. All the necessary procedures as per the standing order and looking into the Constitution of Kenya as far as Article 145 and 150 of the Constitution is required were adhered to. And I'm sure, as you are aware, the Deputy President has been in court with about 30 cases, which all the High Court decided that the proceeding at the National Assembly and the proceedings at the Senate must come to a conclusion. I think it's high time now for the President of the Republic to move with speed and communicate to the Parliament, to the National Assembly this morning, on the name of the next Deputy President of the Republic. And we will vet and make recommendations as the National Assembly.
Honorable Gakuya, already Gachagua has been gazetted as being ousted. And this has its implications in terms of him running for office. There was an option of Rigathi Gachagua resigning. Was it too late for him to make that decision? That perhaps he was caught off guard?
Joe, what I would like to say on that particular aspect is that even personally, I persuaded the Deputy President to go to that particular route, knowing that the consequences of the outcome of such an impeachment. But at the end of the day, let me say that actually the holder of that position, of the Deputy President, was not holding it as at his own capacity, but he was holding it interest of Kenyans. And therefore, he told me that actually he need to consult various groups first, and he will be convinced probably after that consultation. And if he consulted widely, and most likely he was persuaded to fight this battle to the end, and that's what he did. I still think that actually that was also his decision at the end of the day. And I would say I am not finding it anywhere in how so tough that there is no other room. I would say that politically the room is closed, but administratively he can make his redress, and it is not so critical to say that it's casted on a stone, and such kind of a decision cannot be quashed. And let us,
so you're hopeful the courts will save Gachagua?
One Joe, let me say, at this point in time, because at the point in time we are in, the Deputy President is already impeached. So there is nothing politically you can appeal to. Then you can only leave this matter to the judiciary.
Well,
and as one of the citizens, let me hope for the best that in fact the judiciary can be able to pronounce on someone on a different perspective. I don't want to preempt whatever may be decision they may arrive.
Pogisho, you have been at least in politics since 1988. Rigathi Gachagua was lucky at least to have, having served one term as Madira Member of Parliament, transitioned to become a Deputy President, the second Deputy President of this republic. You still are eligible to vie for any position today. Yeah. And he only started his career in 2017, and now he's no longer eligible to vie for political office. Will it have been wise for Rigathi Gachagua to have resigned before being impeached by the Senate or by the Parliament in large?
Yeah, I thought at some point, even up to yesterday, at some point, at any time before the pronouncement, he could probably have said, yes, write a letter to the president and say, we've been together for this long, you probably don't want me around anymore as your deputy, and I tender my resignation.
I think maybe the fears there could be President William Ruto maybe could have refused to accept the resignation letter and still subject him to an impeachment process so that he completely crushes him. Is that still possible?
I don't know if that is really how far that differences have gone. My fear is that when you are a deputy of anything in this country, your future is never completely guaranteed. You can see the deputy of anything. I mean, vice presidents all over from the beginning of independence, from our independence day. Vice presidents have never settled, and even deputy presidents, as we have seen them, never settled. William Ruto's future was never guaranteed. I mean, he could have been impeached when he was deputy president, but he wasn't. He wasn't, and deputy governors are struggling. I'm sure deputy headmasters are struggling. Any deputy anything is struggling today because why? Because to be a deputy, you are basically breathing on the shoulder of the other guy. You are a heartbeat away from becoming the other fellow. And so there's always fear about deputies and how they...
So Rigathi Gachagua could have made a political blunder of not resigning before being impeached by Parliament.
I mean, that was a very strong option for him. I can say that, a very, very strong option. I'm sure his friends told him that this is a very good option for you to retain. However, he said he was going to fight this battle in the courts, and he was going to go to the farthest. And by the way, those options are still there. So the fact that he's impeached doesn't mean that he cannot run for office based on the legalities, I mean the laws of this country. Maybe he can challenge that part and still be able to come out and run for office. But that is now a legal battle away from Parliament. It's away from the political class here. It's now going to be totally illegal.
Honorable, quickly, even as we take a break, could Rigathi Gachagua have resigned before being impeached? Was this a good option for him then?
According to me, it was the best option. But unfortunately, he has advisors or friends who were telling us in Parliament that we want to stick here, but please ensure there is number to impeach the Deputy President. Some of his friends, my brother here, Honorable Gachagua, and others, I'm not saying he's the one, but some of his friends in Parliament were telling us, who are supporting the impeachment motion, that proceed and ensure the Deputy President is impeached. When you have such kind of friends, you can't be able to get proper advice. Rigathi Gachagua is a principal, he was, I don't know how to use the right term, so he was the principal assistant to the President of Kenya. And once whoever you are assisting doesn't want you to be the principal assistant, or your help to him is no longer tenable, the best thing to do in a mature democracy is to tender your resignation.
So he was misadvised, and that is a political blunder for him.
He was misadvised by guys who are taking a cup of tea with him, and during the day and during the night, but when they are on the floor of the house, they are whispering to us, this guy must go home. But they are good friends.
Well,
so, I mean, it is better to be honest from the one go. Rigathi Gachagua, we have no ill will or any malice towards him. He's a friend. We have talked a lot in the past, and I gave him my personal opinion as far as some of these issues are concerned. If it's a question of respecting the Constitution, that Kenya is one indivisible nation, please, let's stick to that.
At that juncture, we take a short commercial break. When we come back, we'll be purely focusing on what next for Gachagua, what next for President William Ruto on picking his deputy. Who will it be? Will it be a woman or a male deputy president? That is a matter of wait and see. We take a short commercial break. We'll be right back. Stay tuned and keep the conversation going. Via social media platforms at K24 TV, to Joel Church as well on SMS and WhatsApp numbers on the bottom of your screens. I'll be glad to sample some of them before wrapping up our special focus on Rigathi Gachagua's impeachment. We'll be right back. Stay tuned.
Emotions, relationships.
Kumbe mama, ulikuwa unafikiria kuolewa tena? Yaani unijali hata kidogo, wewe ni mbaya.
Dilemmas and complexities of